everyone, and welcome back to another episode of That's So Matthew. I am so excited to have two very special guests here with me today. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Dhwani.
And we're from the Even the Little Things podcast, and we're so excited to be back again.
I am so excited to have you back again. This movie I loved as a kid, and rewatching it today, I don't know if I can say the same. Definitely a lot of thoughts, but I don't think it will ever be worse than Wendy Wu, and that's like the only saving grace.
Wendy Wu, that was an experience. I'm just gonna say it like it is. It was an experience, and, not to plug too early, but we did record the Wendy Wu episode with Matthew, so if you want to go hear our thoughts, you should go listen to that. But yeah, same. I have so many thoughts about Read It and Weep.
Yes, so excited to be here with you. So as we always do, I'll start off with my overview of the movie. So Read It and Weep came out in 2006 and premiered on July 21st, which is awfully close to the 20-year anniversary. No, 15-year, sorry. 15-year. I can't do math. Anniversary, and it actually comes out really close to that. Maybe I could coincide it for like some cool thing.
I think that'd be
Love
cool.
That. So it stars Daniel Panabaker as well as Kay Panabaker, who are sisters. You might recognize them from several projects. I know that Danielle is in The Flash. Haven't seen it, but I know she's in it. And her sister has been in other stuff as well. She was in Phil of the Future. Lots of fun stuff, as well as Jason Dolly from Good Luck Charlie. Love that show. I love Good Luck Charlie.
Me too. I made this joke the other day to someone, but I was like, I think the reason why I'm in advice teen podcast is because of Teddy's video diaries, picking that up, and I'm like, hey, this is what you need to know. But yeah.
As you should. As you should. I think that is she's a great icon to have. And so this movie has quite the unique plot. So basically, I don't know if either of you have seen the movie Dad Napped. It is a DCOM, kind of similar to the character from the book coming to life and being a sidekick. Kind of a weird cliche to me, especially considering that it's supposed to be her glorified self in this movie. It gets to her head quite a bit. And her character which is herself in her diary, that gets leaked to the public and gets published as a New York best-selling book. I think that if I don't know how old she is, I would say 15 or 16. I feel if my diary got leaked, I would cry.
So Dhwani and I did an episode where I read from my middle school diary, and I genuinely, if I read the actual the tea, the actual names and everything, I would for sure get canceled. People would actually hate me. I'm not even joking. The things I said, all the things I did. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just not Olivia Rodrigo. But the things I said in there, that was some tea. Oh, okay. And actual tea. And honestly, I don't blame her for writing all the it gets into that in the movie where they're like, oh, why did you write all that stuff? That's horrible. But I don't blame her because I would have said the same exact thing. I would be honest. It's my diary,
I agree. That was also a really good episode too. So plugging their podcast right now because you all should go listen to it. So honestly, let's just start off with our character, Jameson, who, aka Jamie, who is played by Kay Panabaker. So she is our lead. She is the actual author of this book, and she isn't irritating, but she's also a super interesting teenage girl character to me because she gives me the girl that would she looks super genuine, but she gives off super if you do something bad to her, she would hurt you. She'll write about you in her diary and then publish it. I don't know, I feel I would be friends with her, but I'd be scared to do something that might offend her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's relatable.
I agree. I think she's relatable in the sense that she's like, oh, 2000s quirky. I'm not like other girls. Like, oh my God, look at me. I'm so weird. My parents own a pizza shop. Like that kind of relatable thing. But at the same time, I feel like she also has like almost zero personality. Like when I was watching the movie, I was like, I literally cannot relate to her, but I also can. Like I can relate to her in the sense that I'm like not the most popular person at school, like that kind of cliche thing. But also I can't because I don't really know who she is. Like the entire time she just spent like being an author, which is cool, and like being in her own head, which I think is a relatable part because I'm often like always in my own head. I'm like, oh my gosh, like all these thoughts, you know, maybe not as extreme as her. I think that was like kind of weird, like almost like a mental illness type of thing. Um, that, you know, like she was disassociating for real. Like I was like, wow, I think this girl needs to go to therapy. But, you know, yeah, she basically had zero personality besides the fact that she was an author and not like, I don't know, kind of weird.
Yeah, I would agree with everything I said, except like when I watched it and like when I was younger, I thought she was like very relatable because in like fifth grade, my teacher made us do like a poetry project. I considered myself a writer. So when I watched it, I was like, oh, well, that could be me. But like that doesn't happen. And like I found her, like you said, kind of irritating and she was like, okay. And like I liked her glamorous life though. Like that sounds fun. But like the way that she went about it was like annoying. Like, if her friends like didn't forgive her, like I wouldn't care. Like I would be like, okay, well, maybe I wouldn't either, but I definitely agree with what you two said.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna, like, gloat a little bit, but I actually do have a published book that I self-published in the 8th grade that I wrote with some creepy old author dude. Basically, long story short, in 8th grade, this guy came to our school, and he asked the teacher for, like, the best writers in the class, and he helped us write a book, and I wrote this very, like, Pretty Little Liars, Riverdale-type story about a girl getting murdered. And I did self-publish it on some sketchy website, and you can actually buy it. But it's really fun. But like, I feel like I would never like consider myself like the way that she does, like so elite. Like, I mean, hers is supposed to be some best-selling book. Like mine is like like a couple copies sold, but same kind of vibes.
Oh, okay. Here's my publishing story. So I don't have a book published, but Wattpad has always been and has always been the craze. And in 8th grade, my friend and I, we okay, my friend and I, we decided to write a book on Wattpad, and it's not like a fan fiction or anything. It was just a really cringy book, and I don't think it's still up there. I mean, you can search for it, but you don't know any of our names. Like, you don't know like my friend's name, and it's under her account. So, T. But I felt the same way. Like when I first watched this, I was like, yes, I am an author. Like, yes, respect me. Like, yes, get it. Like, I'm it. I'm totally it. But like I think sometimes people just need to like sit down and really think about it and be like humble, like you are really not that it, like sometimes you are it, but other times we need to take a little humble seat and realize that we are not all that, and we wouldn't be all that without like, people around us helping us and guiding us and, being our friends, and, we can't just like be up all there. You don't do everything by yourself, is basically what I'm trying to say.
She doesn't understand that.
No, she doesn't.
Let's honestly just go to her sister, aka her like her sister plays her, but her like alternate personality kind of character is her name. That is her name. It's very like, it's kind of like gives me like 2000 chic, like trying to reinvent myself from like Isabel to like Is. And it's so weird because later in the movie, she's dating this guy. I should say Jamie is dating this guy, and he like fantasizes about her being the character from the book. Like, what was that?
Oh my god. I have so many things to say about the men in this movie. Like, specifically, the men in this movie suck. Like, I'm sorry, but the bar is on the floor and these men were on the floor. But talking about I think it was super weird that in the beginning, is shown as this like sort of like hero, like she's cool, like she's like not like cool in the sense where it's like, oh my god, I hate her so much. I think she's cool. It's more like, oh, she's cool because she acts a certain way that is like kind and generous and all this stuff. And it was so weird how like it suddenly got switched to this like, oh, she's all that kind of girl, you know? So I found it super weird. I feel like it was a weird character switch that didn't really work for me and I didn't really like it. And also, it was super weird how she kept like disassociating and talking to like like randomly, like what was her name, Jamie, the main character. See, I don't even know the main character's name sometimes.
Yeah, Jamie
yeah.
was the main character, but like I honestly like couldn't tell you that without like looking at like the billing or like the credits of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly enjoyed Iz more than I did Jamie, just because like Iz had things to say, and like I felt like she had more character than Jamie, because Jamie was kind of boring and she was just like not it. But Isabel was kind of funny, but like also kind of dumb, and I just like they didn't incorporate her very well into the movie, and it felt awkward and weird, and it's like when you're sitting by yourself in your room and like talking to yourself, and it was very weird. But obviously I enjoyed it a lot when I was younger, and I thought it was so cool. And I used to like wish that I had like my own Is, but like a real life person, not just like a wall to talk to.
Honestly, I feel like if I had an alternate personality, I feel like he would be pretty cool. He or she, I don't know. Like it would just be so cool. Like but in this movie it's just portrayed so weirdly, and like they totally flipped. Like at the beginning, like you said, they were like, oh yeah, she's like kind of weird, but then at the end it's like, oh, she's all that. Like I don't know, kind of irritating to me, but I mean it's pretty cool because they literally look like twins even though they're not. So that's really a vibe. That's like me and my sister. Everyone always thinks we're twins.
Yeah, my sister can actually open my phone with my Face ID. She uses her face to open my Face ID. I'm not even joking. It's crazy. And another thing I had a weird thing with was like, yeah, Jamie was kind of like had these faults. Like, yeah, she was kind of annoying when she was like, I'm better than everybody else. Like you know, you peasants, whatever. But like, also, why did I root for her? Like, why did I like her more than the people I was supposed to like? Like her friends. Like, I think we're gonna get to that, right? But her like I just did not like her friends, and there's something about it. I don't know. I just feel like I always root for like weird characters I shouldn't, like Blair Waldorf. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I like this. Like I like seeing people win that shouldn't win sometimes. It's so weird. But like I low key didn't think that Iz and Jamie were like that annoying compared to everybody else.
That's honestly a vibe. I relate to that and I agree. And honestly, let's just get to her friends. So we have Harmony, who is played by Alexandra Krosny. And so the friends of this movie, they started off like halfway decent to me, honestly. Like in the beginning, I was kind of like vibing with them. Like at first, this is going to sound really dumb, but when I was little, I used to think when she said save the planet, it wasn't like a specific movie theater. She like wanted to just like save the earth or something like that. But she's like they're really eco-friendly, and like they have that whole like under the sea ball thing with the seaweed, which I still don't understand. But like they're really like they seem like really eco-friendly, really like socially aware, and I would totally be friends with them in the beginning. But then after that, I don't know like what got me. They just like were the people that like I just can't stand. Like I don't know if it was the acting, I don't know if it was the characters, I don't know if it was a mix of both. But the characters just like they didn't relate with me like at all, and it just felt like this whole movie just kind of felt a little fake.
I think part of it is like in the beginning, I agree. I really like them. Like I feel like they're people I'd be friends with. They'd be like social justice and like aware of the planet and just good people who care about other people. But the more that it went on, it was like really like fake awareness. It was like one of those people who like post on Instagram stories and then like get really mad when other people don't post on Instagram stories about like certain things. It's like, hey, to be an activist, you don't need to be like posting on Instagram. Like you can be an activist in so many different ways, and that's like not the only way you can do it. I feel like they would just get mad at every single little thing. Like they'd be like, oh, you don't care. Oh, since you didn't do this, I guess you don't care about whales. Or like, I guess you don't care about like people of color or things like that. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. Like, you can care about so many different things without like having to put it in other people's, like face. Like, of course there needs to be like awareness being raised, but I feel like they were so aggressive about it that it wasn't even awareness, it was just about themselves, like in a weird selfish way. So I agree, it was definitely like kind of weird and fake, like pseudo awareness, like pseudo justice.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Have you guys like watched Moxie, the movie on Netflix?
Yeah.
Do you know that one girl that like doesn't go along with her friends, and then one of them gets mad and says like, "You never stand up for me. You never do anything. Like you should stand up." It kind of gave me like that vibes. Like you don't have to be like so outspoken and have like grand gestures or anything to like show that you care about topics. And it just kind of reminded me of that because like she just got like so mad when her friend like didn't agree with her about her whole like save, well, I don't know what it was, like save the whales or save the planet or something. And I don't know, that just kind of that was just all like really really weird. And then like also the end, the seaweed scene, I still don't get like how does that even like work at a school dance, and like who even like agreed to that?
They give me very performative activist vibes. Very
Mm-hmm.
performative. They seem like the people that like you always see like making that people are making fun of on TikTok who like will post like one thing and then like never say it ever again or like do it reflected on their life. And like I feel like if they lived in like today's 2021 era, they would like post like a thing about whales, but then 2 seconds later like go throw some like trash in the like ocean.
Yeah, that's
That's like
exactly what
what
I
they
meant.
do.
That's exactly what I meant with like the Instagram thing. Like they'll superficially do it like on the outside, but that when it comes down to like actually like performing those actions and like following through, they're like, why should I care? Like, why should I do that? Or like, I agree with Dhwani with the whole Moxie thing. Like, it was definitely like weird, like performative activism, like savior type thing. Like, it just didn't feel real because they were trying to do it so much. Like, they were like, and then they got mad at their friend. Okay, this is the thing that I think people might disagree with me on, but they got so mad at Jamie for not being there, which I understand. Like, she made a commitment, she should have been there, but they got so mad at her when literally she's like an author. Like, she had all these appearances she had to be at. Like, of course, like she should have like handled it better. Like, she shouldn't have gotten mad at them. But they got so mad that she wasn't at this like save the planet rally or whatever while she was like scheduled to do some other like author type thing. And I was like, well, you can't get mad at someone, for like doing their job and like existing and all this stuff and not always doing the things that you want them to do and like getting really like and then like cutting them off, like just like completely cutting them off, no communication, no understanding, no like, okay, I mean, I guess they just got so mad at her and they're like, you changed, Jamie, you changed. I'm like, yeah, because she has a job, like she literally has a job, like I don't know.
It just like gives me like the same vibes as like someone who like gets like famous and like your friends like don't understand that, or like other acquaintances or like people you follow like don't understand that, and it just totally just you're there. She's just like they're ruining her vibe. Like she's literally living her best life. She is doing great. Like she is the moment,
Yeah.
and they're ruining it for her, and they're not true friends. That's a hot take.
Agree.
Let's honestly just go to Lindsay. Same vibes for her. Like I just want to like this movie. Like I want the friends. Like I literally would have been friends with them at the beginning of the episode, not the episode, the movie. But like they all just like give me the same like vibes, and like the whole whale thing was so performative. Like the like the whale pinata filled with like seaweed, or like what was that? And I don't know. So Lindsay also gets a thumbs down for me. I I don't know what else to say. Like I'm just like this movie. Why did I like it so much? Is the question.
Honestly, don't have much to say about her because I just lumped her in with the other girl and I don't even know their names. Like, that's not even trying to be rude. Like, I just genuinely did not know their names. They're kind of irrelevant. Like, throughout the whole thing, they just sprinkled in for like random friend drama. And I feel like Disney Channel just does such a bad job with like side character friends. Like, they're either like really like really like too much, like they're too good for the main character, or they're just really bad. Like they're either like the Wendy Wu friends and like these friends, or they're either like I can't think of an example right now, but just like somebody who is just like such a good friend and like doesn't deserve the really bad main character. So like I don't know.
I agree.
Definitely. I don't like even know who she is. Like just one of her friends, and she's kind of just irrelevant, and all her friends are also kind of irrelevant and just really like irritating, to be honest. Like they don't have any purpose in the movie except to just show that she has friends.
Yeah, it's I don't know, but like this next character, I have some thoughts. So Allison Scalati, I believe is her name, and she plays Sawyer, or aka Myrna, who's like the villain in this movie. Okay, the only reason I semi liked her character, even though she was a total B word, she was in Drake and Josh as Mindy, I believe, and I just love her character and her voice. This is so weird. But like her voice is like nice.
No,
Like
I agree.
I just have this thing for like people with nice voices, and
Mhm.
she has such a nice voice. Like that's so creepy. Like I'm not a creep, I promise, but just like
No.
listening to people talk to me sometimes is so good. It's so interesting.
No, because I literally had the same thought. Like I was sitting there and I was like, I want her to read an audiobook. Like I want her to read an audiobook or start a podcast. Like I don't know, she has like such a like a deep, but like also kind of like there's like some sort of like thing behind it. Like I don't know, there's something just really good about her whole voice thing. I agree. And hot take, I did not hate her. She was just living her life, girl. Like literally, like what did she do that was bad? Like I don't think that she like ever acknowledged Jamie and her friends. Like she just didn't care about them. It's not like she was a bully. Like in like what's that movie, Radio Rebel or whatever, like the bully in that movie, I mean like she was actually like mean, but like the girl in this movie who's supposed to be like the popular mean girl, which I literally hate that stereotype, because it's like just because somebody is like quote unquote popular does not mean that they have to like mean or be wordy, like, and like you're just placing that stereotype on like women, that they're just like the B word and they're evil and they're like manipulative and all that stuff, and like they only care about like looks and how they things like that, which I really hate. But I feel like she was just living her life. And like I would have that reaction too. Like if somebody wrote about me in like a weird, mean way that was like, oh, look at her. Like I just wish I could zap her away. Like, wouldn't you be mad? Like, wouldn't you lash out and be like, hey, that's not right?
Yeah, she didn't do anything, so I agree.
hmm She's probably like my favorite one because, like you said, she was just living her life, and here this like girl comes causing all these problems for like no reason, and she should have just like kept her mouth shut. Like she didn't tell the whole world that, oh, this girl is like based off this girl from my school. None of this drama would have been caused, and like the main character just caused too many problems. Like if she just learned like what to say and what not to say, like all of this could have been avoided, and like none of this would have happened.
I agree. I literally don't understand. Like, obviously, I would have the same reaction to, like, finding out that some girl wrote about you in her diary, basically saying, I want to get rid of her forever for no reason. Like, I would totally be upset. But, like, she was just, like, living her life. She was, like we said, just going on, like, with her life, unlike these friends who are, like, being obnoxious for no reason. Or, like, I should say, Jamie, is, like, just, like, I don't know, like all the characters in this movie irritated me, but the plot is what saves it, and we'll get there very soon. Now I want to talk about Jason Dolly's character because I have some thoughts.
I literally
The men in this movie, like you said, Hannah, I'm sorry, they were so bad. Like I feel like honestly, like if these kids went to my school, they would be bullied.
I would
Hannah would be like,
I literally, you guys can't see it, but I literally punched the screen when I thought about this Jason Dooley's character. I think his name was like Connor, or like I don't what's his name?
Connor, I think.
Yeah, okay. Connor, we need to talk. That is okay. He like acted like, what's that thing called, like the nice guy? Like he's like trying to be the nice guy, but he's like not. Like he expects that because he does nice things for Jamie and her friends, like because he's always around and like all the stuff that he like he expects to be with her. Like he feels like she owes him that. Does that make sense? Like he's
Bullshit.
like, yeah, literally. Like he's like, oh well, I wrote that article for you, and I wrote that poem, and I'm always there for you. And he doesn't have a reason to get mad at her. Like I get why her friends were mad at her because she didn't show up to the rally, but he like literally goes with them and he's like, I'm upset with you too. And she's like, why? And he's like, because you changed. And I'm like, why? Because she doesn't want to go to the dance with you. And like it's not, she didn't really explicitly say she doesn't want to go to the dance with you. She literally got asked by somebody else because you didn't ask her. Like why does she owe you the dance? Like why does she owe you a date? And like why are you getting mad at her because she didn't go with you, because you didn't ask her, because you didn't ask her? I was so mad. I was like, wait a minute, Connor, like what is going on here? Like do you really think that you can get mad at someone for doing something that they didn't even promise? Like she didn't promise you to go to the dance. I don't know, I was so mad.
I love how motivated and fired up you are, because honestly, the thing that really gets me going, and I feel like this is a stereotype in real life too, where there's like this guy or girl that likes this person, and it's like implied that they're like dating, but maybe they're not. He really likes her, they really like each other, whatever. And then like it comes to a dance and they get asked by someone else. I saw this happen at my school this year for prom, and let me tell you, it was like even worse in this movie, because like the guy got so upset, and I was like, if you aren't dating and you didn't ask her already, like whose fault is that? It's yours. And in this movie they perpetrated this stereotype, which gets me down to my core, is that even though they didn't go to the dance together, they still ended up together in the end. No thank you. That kiss, what was it? And
Also,
the dad encouraged him.
Also, like, I don't understand, like, why he got so mad in the first place, and then also, like, why she ended up with him, because it's not like throughout the movie, like, she liked him and then she changed her mind. Like, it's not like she changed, like, I just don't know. I just get really mad thinking about it, because it's like, he got so angry. Like, he was mad. Like, this guy was mad. Like, if you watch the movie, he was like, you changed, Jamie. I don't like you anymore, Jamie. Like, Jamie. And then he does this, like, one nice thing for her, and he gets so mad that she doesn't know that it's him, even though he didn't say that it was him who did it. Like, he writes this, like, weird, like, article thing, I think, and then he's like, oh, like, he, like, went up to her and he's like, oh, yeah, you saw that? And then she was like, yeah, somebody else did it. She thought the other guy did it. And then he was like, I'm so mad at Jamie because that was clearly me. And I was like, no.
I loved his character when I was younger because I just loved Jason, because Good Luck Charlie was just my favorite show ever. And so I saw like no problem in him when I was younger. I was like, yay, go him. Like, Jamie is stupid for not realizing. But then like when I watched it now, I'm just like, yeah, I agree. And then like the thing that you said, like if you don't ask someone to the dance, you can't get mad if someone asks you before. And if you wrote something anonymously, you can't just expect other people to know. Like these characters don't have enough brain cells to like comprehend that and like know that, okay, yeah, so my friend, he likes me, and obviously he's the one that wrote it. And then like before the dance or something, when they were like chatting online, he like said something, I forget what he said. He's like, I hate what you've become. And I was like, but why? Like, what has she become? She's become like a successful author, and yeah, she like didn't treat her friends that well, but like she did nothing to you. Like she did nothing to you. So how can you say that you hate the person that she's become when like you're the dumb one who didn't ask her first, who didn't tell her that yes, it was me who wrote that. But yeah, I agree with everything else you guys have said.
Another thing about his character is he's the one who wrote the poem that makes like Jamie like fall for whatever his name is, like Marco. That's so weird. Like she's attracted to poetry. Like,
I mean,
and it was Connor's poetry, which makes it even like 10 times worse.
and then like I feel like she's like only switched up to liking Connor when she found out that he did all these nice things for her, and it's like, but you don't owe him, girl. Like I don't think people understand. Like just because somebody does something nice for you, just because somebody shows interest in you, it doesn't mean you have to return that back. Like I full-heartedly, I feel like everyone should like, like just because somebody brings you flowers, just because somebody gives you chocolate, and these are just stereotypical stuff. Just because you go on a date with somebody, it doesn't mean that you're obligated to date them, or you're obligated to like them back, or you're like obligated to give them anything. Like you don't have to give anybody anything. This is like your own like personal being. So I feel like I didn't like it that once she found out that, oh, Connor wrote this poem and Connor wrote that article, that like she like falls in love with him or something like that and gives him like this kiss. I don't know. It was just strange to me because I was like, you don't owe people things, like, just because someone does something for you. Like nice gestures don't equal like,
Yeah. Definitely irks me. That what you were saying hit very close to home, everyone just doesn't seem to get that, and I just feel like you, Hannah, like when you're older should like go to these high schools and just like give life lessons and be like, listen up, kids. Because you're like honestly actually really good at it, and I love how passionate you have this hatred for Connor, because I'm right there with you.
I hate this man. I full-heartedly, full chest, I don't like him.
I want to talk about Marco because I also have some thoughts about him as well. So Marco's like the stereotypical jock, hot guy, whatever. He's gonna like save Jamie from her distress. No, thank you. So at the beginning of the movie, he reads this poem, and it's like kind of trash, kind of. But Jamie's like, oh my god, I love this poem. I love this man. I'm swiping right. Like that's what she's like doing in her head. And then so we go on later to find out that Connor actually wrote the poem. And like you said, she finds out Connor wrote the poem, wrote the article. She's in love with him. Like she changed sides so quickly, and Marco like didn't even do anything. Like, and he also like seemed like the kind of guy that would like hate on Connor. I mean, as he should. But like, he kind of seems like the guy, like, oh, you want to be with him more than you want to be with me? Like, I'm, like, the hot jock, and you want to be with some nerdy kid who does my homework for me? Like, no thank you. And I wanted to like someone in this movie, and it's sad that it was a character that was supposed to be the villain. And, like, I hated everyone that was supposed to be like, oh my gosh, we love you. And, like, Marco, like, what even happened to him at the end of the movie? I can't even remember it. Like, what happens after they kiss? Like, Connor and Jamie, like, does he just like break up with like I don't know, I have so many thoughts.
He goes back with the other girl, I think, and they're like dancing and like fighting in the background. It was super strange. But like also the thing I didn't like about him was he kept calling Jamie Is, and she was like, stop calling me that, and he kept calling her like
he definitely was fantasizing about
yeah, it's like this like weird fantasy about like somebody else, which I thought that was so weird. That's like so weird for a Disney Channel movie too, because I feel like that's not light at all. That's like super weird and like something people actually in real life do. They like fantasize about certain things and then start calling people like other things, and it's just kind of gross and icky. Like it just is like no thank you vibes. Like please, thank you next, move on. I don't need you. Like that's kind of gross. And he gives me like icky vibes. Like something about Marco is just like icky. Like I don't know what it is, but I feel like he would be like the type of person who would like, I don't know how to describe it. He's just like that type of person, if you know what I mean. Like if you know, you know. Like if you've been inside a high school, I think you know the type of person Marco is. Like he doesn't respect people's boundaries. I feel like he's like constantly crossing the line in like class. He doesn't like do anything, and like brain cells, what are they? Empty, completely empty. So
what do you think, Dhwani?
This is like so embarrassing, but I thought he was like really cute when I was younger. And like this is the problem with like rewatching Disney movies when you get older, because like all the perceptions you have about it and like, oh, I liked it, they just get like all ruined. Like all the good feelings you had about the movie, they're just not like all ruined now, because I also like did not like his character. He just seems like the guy who thinks that he's like everything, but in fact he's just some like dumb little boy who knows like nothing. And I just didn't like his character. He was irritating, and Jamie just has really bad taste for men. Like someone needs to teach her how to have a good taste for men.
I agree. She just like there's no saving grace for her. Like at all. It definitely isn't her taste in men either.
it's just like the men in this movie are really horrible. Like even Connor's brother or whatever, he was like, yeah, if you want my car, you have to wash it. or like weird stuff like that. And then like I
No,
think
thank you.
the only dude that I actually liked in this movie was probably like what's her name? Jamie's brother, her like actual real brother, the one who was like sensitive and played the guitar. I was like, okay, he's
He
cool.
was so like chill. I love him. He deserved better.
Mm.
Deserved better. So now we're gonna jump to the plot because there's a lot to unpack. And so let's honestly just start off with we've got Jamie and her we have her friends Connor, Lindsay, and Harmony, and a brother, Lenny, who we like. He's super chill, laid back, plays the guitar, all the things. And so then we have like her enemy, the Regina George of the movie, Sawyer, who, like we said, we all pretty much liked. So, and so we have Jamie, who is in class, and she has written this journal about a character named Isabella, who is a popular girl with powers, which is basically herself in an own little universe of herself. And so they must write an essay, as all high school teenagers do. And basically, really cliche, Jamie's printer doesn't work, it's dead, but Lenny is like, I'll let you use his, but Lindsay's like, if you email it to me, I will take care of it. So one of my biggest fears is attaching the wrong file, but not in this sense, because she literally sends her the journal. And, oh my god, I would die. I would die.
Also, I find it super weird that she literally told her friends what her essay was about, and your friend like knows that that's her essay, and then when she's like, "Oh yeah, your essay got published," like the next part of this when they figure it out, she like read it already, like she printed it and read it. So I was like, wait, if you're a good friend and you know your friend's essay is about something else, wouldn't you be like a little concerned that she printed like this weird like 50-page journal entry thing? Like, wouldn't you be like, hey,
What the hell?
what's
Like,
up?
I don't even know what was going through her friend's brain. What was going through Jamie's brain?
I don't know.
Like, is it not weird that the assignment was an essay, but here you are printing page after page, and like not like do you just not like recognize, oh, she must have sent the wrong thing? And also, if like someone asks you to print something, not to like snoop or anything, but like you can like read like the first paragraph or whatever it is of the document that you're trying to print. And I'm pretty sure if it was her essay, it would have like a title or something. And if it was like her journal, it would be different. So how did like her friend not comprehend it? And like you printed out so many pages. Like, did you really think that someone wrote that long of an essay? Like, what is happening?
I totally agree. And there was pictures too. Like, come on, friend. You were such a whore. I'm just gonna call her friend because I don't remember her name. I think it was Lindsay.
Yeah.
Lindsay. Like, come on, girl. You know better. So fake friends. But then it gets turned in and wins a writing contest. All in like the span of like 2 seconds, because all of a sudden I didn't even know the essay was for a competition, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you were entered in a competition, and guess what, you won. Like, come on, it's so like cliche, and it happens so fast, and so you think it'd be like actually getting better for Jamie because she's gonna be famous, but it gets worse because everyone starts reading this book and wants her autograph. Little do they know, it's basically essentially based off of all of them. Like, and there's also like this really weird scene where like the principal, I think, like comes up to Jamie and's like, can I have your autograph? And then Iz shows up, and it's like so weird. And like, how did it get famous so quickly is like my question. Like, I'm out here with my podcast for like over 2 years, like trying my best to like kind of become semi-famous, and she gets famous in 0.2 seconds. No thank you.
Literally though, like she goes from winning this contest, like in this like newspaper thing, to publishing a book. And also like publishing like a real book, like a book that will become a New York Times bestseller, because hers is like a bestseller or whatever. It's not done in like 1 month like the movie portrays it, like because like it goes from like 0 to 100 in like literally 2 seconds. I'm not even joking. Like most movies I'm like, yeah, 2 seconds and it's like 20 minutes, but this was literally less than 5 minutes. 5 minutes of screen time of her just being like, should I write this book? And then writing it, and it's like a bestseller, like New York Times level. And I'm like, that's not how publishing books work. Like, publishing a book, it takes like years of drafting and editing and writing. And like, I literally don't understand how her book just got picked up and she ran with it. And she was like on all these shows and like bringing in all this business. And it was so weird.
I mean, I have to say Lindsay is a good friend in the sense that she got her friend all this fame, but there was so much plot missing. Like you said, they never mentioned it was a competition. They never also don't you have to ask the writer's permission to enter stuff into competition? You can't just give stuff to people. And how did her book get published so fast? Because it takes months. Even if you are a good writer and you submit a book, it takes months for it to get published. But hers just got published, and it felt like all this happened in a span of a day. That's how fast everything was moving. No, they didn't say, oh, 3 months later or anything like that. Just things after things that just didn't make sense at all.
And it gets me going because then 2 seconds later, in the plot, everyone finds out that it's based off of her real life and Sawyer. And again, what did Sawyer do? Nothing. She did nothing. And she has this whole book based off of her problems, and they hate that she wrote about the school and her negative feelings, but her life is a mess. But she's also making TV appearances. She has a breakdown on national television. I mean, I probably would too, but it's so cringy and there's so much going on. So then she apologizes to her brother, and she was been really rude to him the whole time. And she's like, I think you should give guitar another chance. And she tries to make all these amends, but the damage is already done, girl. Your life is literally a dumpster fire. And so now she was going to go hang out with friends, but then she has a signing or an appearance to do. And her friends are like, you've changed, Jamie, you've changed. And we said, it's so pointless. It's so stupid. Makes me want to throw up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have canceled on my friends before for valid reasons, but you don't just be you've changed, or you're such a rude person. Why would you do that? Things come up, life goes on, and sometimes life is just gonna happen with or without your friends, so just go for it. I don't know what their problem was.
I also don't understand it because she's literally this famous author now. I'm not saying that she should forget all of her obligations and forget her friends and forget how to be kind to people. It's just I feel they didn't understand that she literally has a job. And sometimes when things come up, you just have to cancel and move on. Yes, I agree. Jamie probably should have called and been hey, I can't come. That's what I would have done. But they can't just get stuck on the fact that she couldn't show up. To this certain event. I get that it was very important, and I would feel really bad if if Dhwani had an event and I couldn't go to it. I don't know, let's say Dhwani had a Save the Whale rally or whatever, and I couldn't go to it. I would obviously feel really bad, and I would call her in advance, but I wouldn't expect her to get stuck on it for months just because I didn't show up. I feel good friends can just get over scenarios and forgive each other and be hey, I understand that you're busy, and sometimes that'll happen, and if that happened to them, if they did that to her, they didn't show up to her book signing or whatever, as an example, I would expect her to be treat them the same exact way. And I just feel it's a weird one street friendship with them, because she would I don't know how to describe it.
I agree. You were right. They're just Jamie's putting in the work to the friendship, but they're not, and they just expect it to come naturally. And stuff like that just doesn't happen overnight. You didn't become best friends with your best friend overnight. That's just not how it happens. And I'm sure that you and Dhwani weren't best friends overnight. You have to put work into the friendship,
Mm.
And you have to understand that things are gonna come up. Life is crazy, life is hectic, and that's just my biggest ick about this movie is the men in this movie and the friends, because they're not real friends. They're fake. Really fake.
I feel the friends were stuck on this every day-to-day routine, and just because there's this new thing and disrupts their life, and not really their life, Jamie's life, they're all of a sudden on her and oh, well, we don't want to be friends anymore, you're different. You have to understand there's gonna be so many different things happening in your life and sudden unexpected things, And also, it's basically like Lindsay's fault. Like, you should have read what you were like printing and turning in, and if you hadn't, then like none of these friendship problems would have happened. But like, she's like famous now and she has things to do, and you kind of have to understand that. And if like Hannah ever said that, I would be like, oh, okay, cool, like she's now like a New York selling or whatever published author and she has like things to do, and I wouldn't be mad. And like getting stuck over that one thing and like ruining your friendship is like the dumbest middle school thing I've ever heard of. Like, her friends should have just understood that like it's a huge thing that's happening in someone's life, and just because she couldn't come to like one rally doesn't mean that she's a bad friend, and does not mean that she's changed. She's just adjusting to like this new fame that she just got.
I agree. And that just brings us to our next part, which is the school dance with the whale and the seaweed thing. And so she's basically trying to fix up her life, and she apologizes to everyone. They're not accepting her because she needs to come forward and basically say that she didn't have this intention of writing this book as a book. It was her personal journal. So she needs to go in front of everyone and say, hey, I made a mistake. This was not supposed to be published. This was my personal journal that was never meant to be seen by anyone. So she comes forward and says that, and it's kind of a whole mess. And so she really wants the forgiveness from Connor, even though Connor's kind of hung up on her. She's kind of hung up on him, but she's with Marco, so it's kind of a mess. And then the dad, she catches him right as he's leaving, and the dad's like, go for it, son. Go for it. You can do it. Yeah, no, thank you. And so then they kiss, which I hate, like I said, because it portrays this thing of, like, even if you're not, like, dating or, like, you're still going to end up with each other, which isn't the case. But I literally just really wanted to, like, see her or him just be like, yeah, I'm not into you, like, get over it. But they didn't, and they kiss. And now we get so many crazy things, like the piñata full of seaweed that's coming down, and still don't understand. So then they go to the pizza shop, which I think is, like, super cool to have a pizza shop. But, like, they put the seaweed on the pizza on accident, and then it becomes a huge hit, and the dad's, like, really into it. Like, this was such a random ending to the movie.
Yeah, I also feel like the movie didn't really have much of a plot. Like, it just kept going weird. I feel like I just watched, like, a bunch of random scenes pulled together from, like, random stuff. Like, it was fun, and I really, like, I don't know, like, I think it's, like, cute. Like, I didn't hate this movie. That's the thing. Like, even though I'm, like, kind of ragging on it, like, I didn't hate it. Like, it was enjoyable. Like, I sat down and was like, hey, cute. You know? Not like it's Oscar worthy or whatever, but, you know, it was, like, good for a Disney Channel movie. Like, certain ones are better, but this is pretty good. But it was, like, such a random movie. Like, I just feel like it didn't need to be done, you know? Or something's missing from it, or like some sort of like big reveal or some sort of like big something. I just feel like something was missing, something was not there.
I feel like the movie didn't have a climax or nothing like surprising in it. And like, to the apologizing scene, I feel like she shouldn't really have to apologize. Like, she's just writing her feelings, and like there must be like some truth to it. So like, her friends can't get mad. Like, she wrote it for a reason, not because she just like woke up one day and decided to simply like hate her friends and like write things about them in her journal. Like, obviously something must have happened and she felt that way. So like, you can't really get mad at someone for feeling that way, because like, even if you're like friends with someone, sometimes you don't like tell them how you feel about everything and you write it down. So you can't just like get mad at that. And the whole like seaweed thing, is that like real seaweed? Like, where did she find that bucket of like whole seaweed? And if it like fell on me at a dance, that is so disgusting. Like, when I go to the beach, I don't even touch the seaweed. So like, imagine it like falling on you. And the whole like seaweed pizza thing was so weird. Like, I didn't understand this movie. I just know that I really enjoyed it when I was younger, and now watching it, it's okay. It just doesn't make sense. And like Hannah said, it's not bad. It's like funny, enjoyable. But yeah.
Like, and also the fact that the seaweed pizza like saves their business and that's the ending of the movie makes no sense. But it's Disney, so I'll forgive them. So honestly, this is my favorite part of the episode, because we're gonna have to rate this movie out of 10, and I always love seeing what people have to say. So I will go first, especially for this movie, because I feel like it was quite the ride. So plot wise, there is no plot. Character-wise, there's only like one character that I can stand, and it's supposed to be the character that we're not supposed to stand. However, this movie was enjoyable to watch. It was a fun little, the TikTok song where it's like something sweet for the kids or something? That's kind of what it gives me. Like, it's just a little something sweet for the kids. But it was still enjoyable, so I have to give it like a 6 out of 10. Like, it's not high, but it's not low. It's kind of just mediocre, and I think even the conversation was like even better than the movie.
I think I'm gonna give it. Okay, well, I'll just talk about like Matthew. So basically, plot, no plot. Where is she? Can you find her for me? Characters, again, I think I liked characters I probably shouldn't have liked. Like, it was weird. And then what other? Like, okay, but it gives me like a sense of nostalgia. And usually I like to excuse the sense of nostalgia for realness and how I feel right now. But it gives me a sense of nostalgia. And it is cute. Like, it's quirky and like kind of like irrelevant, just kind of cute. Like, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of there. It's there, but it's like cute. And I feel like it's underrated. I feel like people don't really talk about this movie much, but they could. Like, some of the lines are iconic. Like, some of the things that they do are kind of cute and kind of funny. And so I don't hate it. Like, when you're supposed to hate something, but you just don't. That's kind of what this movie is for me. It's just kind of like what's something I hate, but it's kind of like banana bread. Like, I don't really like bananas. I don't really like what's in it, but somehow, some way, I really like it actually, and I will eat like banana bread if you give it to me. Like, I'm not gonna crave banana bread. I'm not gonna be like, oh, banana bread, I want some banana bread. But if it's in front of me, I'm gonna eat it, So I think a good like 7 out of 10 for me.
I would give it, like Matthew said, like a 5 or 6 because, like we both said, there is no plot, and like Hannah mentioned, it does give you so much nostalgia because when this movie was on Netflix, I watched it multiple times, and now like rewatching it, it didn't hit as it used to when I was younger, and it just kind of got a little bit boring. But I do have to give it like points for creativity because I have not watched any like Disney movie that's like all the Disney movies are creative in their own way, but this just felt like a little bit more creative with like the alternative personality and and everything. I really enjoyed that whole thing, so I would give it like a 5 or 6 out of 10.
Solid. I agree with both of your opinions, and honestly, I feel like it's still higher than what we gave Wendy Wu. I'm pretty sure I gave like a 3, maybe a 2. So like, I think we're like okay. But this was honestly such a blast. Thank you both for being here today. Again, you guys can listen to our thoughts on Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior, in episode 72 that I'll have linked in the show notes below. And now, Hannah or Dhwani, if you want to plug your show.
Yeah, sure. So if you liked hearing us on here, if you like Dhwani's very calm quips and my more enraged quips, if you want to hear advice, because we do a lot of advice on our podcast, if you want to hear story times, personal story times, I mean, you've heard some of my embarrassing stories, like the Wattpad story. Like, Dhwani and I have so many different embarrassing stories, so many different life stories, so many different just random story times, advice for every sort of scenario. High school advice if you're like the girl Jamie in this movie. Maybe we'll do an advice for somebody who messed
Boys
up
advice.
Yeah, friendship advice, boy advice, relationship advice. We have all different types of advice and story times, and it's just a fun time. It's just us venting and talking to you about things that we wish we would have known earlier in life. And if you want to go check it out, make sure to go check it out on all streaming platforms. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, just basically any kind of podcast. And if you want to directly contact us, you should follow us on Instagram at Even the Little Things Podcast, and I'll be sure to check your DM. And yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. And obviously, I say this in every episode, you guys can follow me on Instagram at That's So Matthew, Twitter at That's So Matthew1, because That's So Matthew was already taken. Sad face. Facebook.com/That's So Matthew. All my episodes are on YouTube, and you can check out my website, that'smatthew.com, for some fun goodies there. I post an episode every single Friday, so stay tuned. Hannah and Dhwani also post an episode every single Friday, so the Friday gang is elite. And yeah, so thank you everyone so much, and I'll see you in another episode again soon. Bye!
Thank you for having us.